guys, welcome to an episode of Behind the Scenes where I walk you through my artistic process in putting together some of the different performances and works. So today I'm talking about Breaker Maker Dreamtaker, which was a installation performance art that I did for an art gallery exhibition at School of Creative Arts at the University of Lahore. And the theme of the exhibit was systems and structures. The first thing that came into my mind when I heard the theme of the exhibition was my monster character. I have 4 sort of stock characters that I use as like artistic alter egos. So the monster character immediately came to mind because the monster character is outside of the systems. It has no connection to recognizable systems or structures that we know. And so I thought it would be an interesting character to put in the context of this idea of systems and structures and see what sort of scenarios that could be created and reactions that could be created. So initially I did have the idea of sort of setting it up as kind of a booth at the freak show. You know, if you know, like in the past, circuses used to have these freak shows where you could go and look at the people who were, you know, had some sort of physical deformities, you know, the bearded lady, this kind of stuff. And I thought, you know, if I kind of set it up as almost like a booth at the freak show where you could go into a corner or something and see this creature, but then have kind of like almost surveys of an audience, like beforehand, what do you think's in the box, and then what, you know, coming out, what did you feel, what did you expect? So I started talking about it with the other artists at the exhibition and the curator, and they were suggesting to not do the survey just because people don't necessarily interact in that way, and it almost demystifies sort of the process, and it demystifies that creature in the box. And so we decided instead to essentially have just a plain box with small windows, you know, small little places that you could look inside. And then one of the things that they suggested, which I thought was a brilliant idea, was to put mirrors on the inside so that there's infinite replicas of this creature. Along the way, as we were building this, you know, I never had a particular idea of this is the story that I want people to see when they interact. I wanted there to be this element of surprise and shock of going from the box and then seeing this, you know, completely inhuman character inside. And I think that it has a sort of, because I wanted the monster to be chained, so I have 2 versions of the monster. One is not chained and one is chained. So in this I wanted the version with the chains. So I thought it could have this really interesting sort of explosion of questions of, you know, is the box the system, or is the monster the system, or are they both? And what is it saying about control? What is it saying about freedom? What is it saying about our ability to interact with the structure and systems and structures? So if there's just this, you know, creature inside that's completely alien and we have no way of interacting with it, then what does that do, you know, to our understanding of the system? So that's kind of the conceptual framework that we came up for Breaker Maker Dreamtaker, and I made the title kind of a little bit, you know, on purpose as this rhythmic structure, but you know, rhythmic structure. But I also wanted to talk about how the systems, you know, they break, they make, they take dreams, but like, is that what the system does, or is that our interaction with it? You know, so it's again asking those questions. How the exhibition actually manifested was due in part to the availability of the materials. So we didn't make a box that had one open side. It was essentially 2 halves of a box that opened like this. And so because it was, you know, it moved like this, I wanted to get a chain to wrap around it, because the ability of the box to open, I felt, sort of undermined this rigidity of the systems that we see. And I wanted it to be something really, you know, striking. And so I had it locked with a padlock, and then I thought that if the monster's chained inside, then there's a small gap where the box closes. We can attach the chain there so that there is really a sense of this trapped creature inside. And then when it came to the color of the box, I decided to have it painted gray, just because I think black and white, which were the other two options, somebody suggested at the end to have it painted like brightly colors, which is another interesting idea, but at the time I decided to go for gray because I think systems on their own are not, you know, white or black, which have connotations of you know, moral connotations and judgments behind them. So the box was painted gray, and the inside had the mirrors on it. Obviously, for lighting reasons, we had a larger opening at the top of the box, and there was a spotlight that was dropping light directly into the box. Because the floor and the ceiling were painted white, it was quite reflective. It was actually quite light in the box. So if I could do it again, I'd probably make the opening a little smaller so it would be a little bit darker in the box. So that was kind of the creation, the setup of the context of it. But then, of course, there was a question of, you know, if I'm, you know, the monster is me, so how long would I spend in the box? How would that work? And so I wasn't, you know, the monster character requires an incredible amount of makeup and preparation, which is done by Iftikhar Ul Hassan, which is a friend of mine and an extraordinarily talented makeup artist. So we decided to just have the monster present for the opening. And the opening was about 4 or 5 hours, and I wasn't sure I wanted to spend 4 or 5 hours in a box, so I decided I would come in for just 3 hours. But I thought if the exhibition is open, if there are people there, then I want to make sure that the entrance is consistent with the character, which is why we had this entrance where I was basically being pulled in on the chain. And the monster character doesn't stand up like a human, so I was crawling on the floor. And it became a really striking image. After that, there are a couple other interesting things to note. You know, one of the things that I was thinking about is the monster character has as it was originally, has a bare back. And in the context of Pakistan, I thought could be a bit controversial. So we added the feathers. Iftikhar, the makeup artist, was saying that the monster is now a year old, so he's getting his feathers. I mean, that monster is not necessarily a he, but you know, it's growing up, and so it's, you know, it's starting to get its feathers. And I think that the monster can evolve in its look over the years as we, you know, find different ways of expressing it and, you know, different makeup options. So that was kind of how Breaker Maker Dreamtaker was devised. It was kind of an interesting mix of logistics and character building and concept, which were kind of all mixed together. It was a really fascinating experiment, and being in the box for 3 hours was absolutely fascinating to watch people watching me, to hear them talking about me, to, you know, afterwards, apparently people were really concerned about me and me being in there, and if I was okay, if I needed something, if I was bored, if I needed water. And you know, I think it's really interesting to note that, you know, even, I mean, obviously it's a human wearing a makeup, but, you know, while some people were afraid, there was a lot of people whose initial response to the monster was empathy, which I think is quite interesting. I think I learned a lot from it. It was the first time that I was doing a proper performance art installation, so I think there was a lot to be learned. I'd be interested in doing it again and taking it to other galleries around the world and seeing how different cultures and different people around the world respond to it. So hopefully I'll get the opportunity. But in the meantime, that was the experience for now. So that was Breaker Maker Dreamtaker, and this is Behind the Scenes with Gillian. See you next time.